What if the ground beneath our feet, the very bedrock we stand upon, holds secrets far grander and more ancient than any edifice raised to the sky? What if the earth itself, in its deepest, darkest recesses, bears the silent testament to civilizations lost to the annals of recorded time, civilizations that possessed knowledge and engineering capabilities we can scarcely comprehend today? We build upward, reaching for the heavens, but perhaps true antiquity, the forgotten wisdom of a bygone era, lies not in the light above, but in the profound darkness below. For centuries, humanity has pondered the ruins of surface cities, marveling at pyramids and temples, yet rarely do we turn our gaze downward into the vast, intricate networks of tunnels that crisscross continents. These aren't natural caves, carved by water and time, but meticulously engineered passages, chiseled from solid rock with a precision that defies the supposed tools of their age. They stretch for miles, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands, forming a subterranean labyrinth so immense, so interconnected, that it begs a single unsettling question. Who built these vast underground empires, and for what purpose? Were they refugees from an unknown catastrophe, bastions of a hidden power, or perhaps the veins of a planet-spanning civilization long forgotten, yet subtly shaping our world from the shadows beneath? Consider the desolate sun-baked plains of central Anatolia in what is now modern-day Turkey. Here, beneath the picturesque fairy chimneys and ancient churches of Cappadocia, lies a secret so profound it challenges everything we thought we knew about early human ingenuity. Here, carved into the soft volcanic tuff, is not just one underground city, but dozens, perhaps hundreds, interconnected by a bewildering network of tunnels. The most famous of these, Derinkuyu, is a colossal marvel, a subterranean metropolis plunging 8 to 18 levels deep, depending on the sources, reaching depths of over 85 meters. It is a world unto itself, capable of sheltering tens of thousands of people, along with their livestock and provisions, for extended periods. The scale of Derinkuyu is difficult to grasp. Imagine excavating a city beneath the earth, not a simple bunker, but a complex, multi-layered environment complete with living quarters, stables, churches, schools, communal kitchens, storage rooms, and even an intricate ventilation system. The air shafts, some extending for hundreds of feet, ensured fresh air circulated throughout all levels, a feat of environmental engineering that would challenge modern builders without sophisticated tools and planning. Heavy circular stone doors, weighing up to 1,000 pounds each, could be rolled into place from the inside, sealing off entire sections, providing an impenetrable defense against any surface threat. These doors, crafted with remarkable precision, fit snugly into their frames, acting as formidable barriers. Archaeologists attribute Derinkuyu, along with its sister city Kamaklu and the numerous smaller complexes, to the Phrygians in the 8th to 7th centuries BC. Or possibly earlier Hittite periods, later expanded by Byzantines seeking refuge from Arab incursions. This is the official narrative, but a closer inspection reveals anomalies that disturb this neat historical timeline. The sheer amount of rock removed to create Derinkuyu is staggering, estimated to be millions of cubic meters. The tools available to these ancient civilizations, according to conventional history, were rudimentary iron tools, perhaps copper chisels. How could such instruments carve through solid rock with the precision and speed required to create such an expansive, multi-layered city? The work would have been colossal, requiring an organizational structure, a labor force, and an engineering understanding far beyond what is typically assigned to these early cultures. The clean, smooth walls, the perfectly cylindrical ventilation shafts, the intricate network of passages, they speak of a technology lost, or perhaps never truly understood by subsequent generations. And then there is the question of purpose. While the idea of refuge from invaders is compelling, it fails to fully explain the sheer depth and complexity. Why build 8, 10, even 18 levels deep when a few well-fortified upper levels would suffice against surface armies? The effort involved seems disproportionate to the stated threat. Could it be that the threat was not merely human, but something else entirely? Something that required not just defense, but total concealment, total self-sufficiency deep beneath the protective layers of the earth? The strategic placement of water wells, some leading to underground rivers, others drawing from the surface but carefully hidden, further points to a long-term habitation plan, not merely a temporary hideout. Were these ancient inhabitants hiding from a cataclysmic event, a planetary shift, or perhaps something more sinister, something that walked on the surface but preferred to remain unseen? The underground cities of Cappadocia are not isolated phenomena. They are part of a much larger, more mysterious tapestry that stretches across the globe. Journey eastward, across continents, to the ancient lands of India and the mythical kingdom of Rama. Here, stories whisper of an age long past, an age of advanced beings and incredible technology, recounted in epics like the Ramayana and Mahabharata. While often dismissed as mythology, these texts speak of underground cities, of flying machines known as vimanas, and of devastating weapons that resemble nuclear devices. Could these tales, woven into the fabric of human consciousness for millennia, be echoes of a literal truth, a memory of a time when the world was very different and subterranean realms served a vital purpose? Consider the vast, uncharted cave systems and rumored underground networks beneath the Himalayan range and the plains of India. Local legends speak of passages extending for hundreds of miles, connecting sacred sites and hidden hermitages, sometimes referred to as the Paths of the Siddhas or Nagaloka, the realm of serpent beings. These are not just natural caves. Many are said to bear the marks of intelligent construction, ancient carvings, and doorways leading into impenetrable darkness. The Rama Empire, if it ever existed as depicted in the texts, was a technologically advanced civilization that flourished thousands of years ago, possibly predating even the oldest known surface civilizations. Could their advanced knowledge have included the ability to bore through rock, to create subterranean havens that have since been lost to collective memory, yet persist in folklore? The sheer scale hinted at in these ancient texts and local legends dwarfs even the grandeur of Derinkuyu. We speak of networks that might span entire regions, perhaps even connect to other continents. While concrete archaeological evidence for such massive networks on the scale described remains elusive, the persistence of these legends, often with striking similarities across disparate cultures, forces us to question: are these mere coincidences, or are they fragmented memories of a global reality, a subterranean infrastructure created by an unknown, powerful civilization that once governed the planet, or at least controlled its deeper levels? The difficulty of exploration, the sheer danger and inaccessibility of many of these rumored tunnels, ensures their secrets remain guarded by the earth itself. Now, let us turn our gaze to the land of pharaohs and pyramids, to Egypt, a place synonymous with ancient mysteries. Beneath the iconic Giza Plateau, an enigma unfolds that challenges the very foundation of Egyptology. While the pyramids and the Sphinx dominate the landscape above, what lies beneath is perhaps even more astonishing, more inexplicable. Official archaeology acknowledges some subterranean chambers beneath the Sphinx and various tombs, but persistent rumors and suppressed evidence suggest a far more extensive, profound network of tunnels, vast in scale and ancient beyond measure. Accounts from explorers like Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, spoke of a hall of records beneath the Sphinx, a repository of ancient knowledge left by a lost civilization. While Cayce's prophecies are often dismissed by mainstream science, the consistent discovery of structures that defy conventional dating and explanation lends credence to the idea that Giza holds more than just pharaonic tombs. In 1935, a fascinating discovery was made by Dr. Selim Hassan, an Egyptian archaeologist. He uncovered what he described as a massive, elaborate underground complex beneath the causeway of the Great Pyramid of Khufu. His findings described tunnels, chambers, and large sarcophagi, some of which were submerged in water. This complex, known as the Tomb of Osiris, or the Osiris Shaft, is a multi-level structure that plunges into the bedrock, suggesting a highly sophisticated understanding of subterranean architecture and water management. The lowest chamber of the Osiris Shaft is perpetually flooded, containing a massive sarcophagus of black granite. Who built this incredibly deep, water-filled structure? And for what purpose was this sarcophagus, presumably for a being of immense importance, submerged and protected? Mainstream Egyptology dates it to a much later period, but the architectural style, the sheer scale of the excavation, and the difficulty of its construction in an area prone to flooding raise serious questions about its true origins and the capabilities of its builders. The level of engineering required to create such a stable, multi-chambered, watertight structure deep within the Giza bedrock is extraordinary, especially considering the challenges posed by the water table. Furthermore, reports of a network of massive ancient tunnels beneath the entire Giza plateau persist. One notable account comes from British explorer Andrew Collins, who, guided by ancient texts and seismic surveys, claims to have found entranceways to an extensive system of catacombs in the valley directly beneath the Giza plateau. These tunnels, reportedly much older than the Pharaonic dynasties, show signs of advanced engineering, their walls smooth, their passages precise. Could these be part of a much larger, pre-dynastic complex, a legacy of a civilization that predates the very origins of ancient Egypt as we understand it? The implications are staggering. A civilization with the capacity to excavate such monumental underground structures long before the first pyramid was even conceived. What was the purpose of these deep, meticulously constructed tunnels beneath Giza? Were they solely for burial, or did they serve a more profound function, perhaps related to energy, knowledge, or even a hidden defense system for a people of extraordinary technological advancement? The granite sarcophagi found in various underground chambers, often massive and perfectly cut, weighing many tons, challenge our understanding of ancient stoneworking capabilities. How were they carved with such precision, moved into position through narrow passages, and lowered into deep shafts, all with rudimentary tools? The official explanations often fall short, leaving a vacuum of understanding that demands a deeper, more speculative inquiry. The Giza Plateau, therefore, is not merely a collection of surface monuments. It is a gateway to a subterranean world that whispers of a lost past, a hidden history carved into the very bones of the earth. Travel now to the rugged, untamed landscapes of South America, a continent teeming with ancient mysteries and civilizations whose true histories remain largely unwritten. Here, beneath the dense Amazonian jungle and the towering Andes Mountains, legends speak of vast ancient tunnels, not unlike those whispered about in the East. These aren't just local folklore. Some have been partially discovered, hinting at a reality far more incredible than any myth. One of the most compelling and enigmatic examples is Cueva de los Tayos, or Tayos Cave, nestled deep within the Morona Santiago province of Ecuador. Discovered officially in 1969 by Argentinian-Hungarian explorer Juan Morich, what he claimed to find within its depths was not merely a natural cave system, but clear evidence of impossible engineering. Morich spoke of perfectly cut tunnels, sometimes several meters wide, with smooth walls and ceilings that appeared to be machine-polished. He reported seeing large uniform blocks of stone, sometimes perfectly squared, forming corridors and chambers, as if carved by immense power tools rather than chisels. The most extraordinary claim by Morich, and later corroborated by others, was the discovery of a vast metal library within the cave, a collection of ancient metallic plaques inscribed with unknown symbols, along with statues and artifacts made of gold and other precious metals. This metal library, if it exists as described, would represent an archaeological find of unparalleled significance, rewriting the history of written language and ancient technology. The British-Ecuadorian expedition of 1976, which famously included Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, attempted to verify Morich's claims. While the expedition officially reported only natural cave formations and some ancient ceremonial artifacts, Morich himself always maintained that the expedition was intentionally misled or blocked from reaching the deepest, most sensitive areas of the cave. He believed the true extent of the engineered tunnels in the metal library remained hidden, protected, or perhaps deliberately concealed by those in power. The very idea of perfectly cut tunnels with flat floors and right-angled turns deep beneath the earth challenges the conventional understanding of ancient South American civilizations. The Inca, while master builders on the surface, worked primarily with stone blocks joined without mortar. The idea of them boring deep, extensive, perfectly finished tunnels with the tools attributed to them is simply implausible. So, who could have built such a subterranean marvel? The precision suggested by Morich's accounts points to a technology far beyond any known ancient culture in the region. Were these the work of a pre-Incan civilization, perhaps one that vanished without a trace from the surface world, leaving its greatest achievements hidden beneath? Antayo's cave is not an isolated wonder. Throughout South America, particularly in Peru and Ecuador, legends abound of the Chincanas, vast underground tunnels said to connect ancient cities, sometimes stretching for hundreds of miles beneath the Andes. In Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire, whispers persist of several Chincanas, one famously connecting the Coricancha temple to the Sacsayhuaman fortress, and others leading deep into the mountains, rumored to hold untold treasures or even forbidden knowledge. While some smaller segments of these tunnels have been found and explored, often to the peril of those who venture too deep, the official stance is that they are either natural formations or limited, local passages. Yet, the consistent narrative across disparate regions suggests a coordinated, widespread effort. The question echoes again: who possessed the knowledge and the means to create such an intricate, continent-spanning network of subterranean passages? Was it the mythical giants spoken of in many indigenous South American traditions? Or perhaps the survivors of a cataclysmic event forced to retreat underground, taking their advanced technology with them? The impossible engineering here isn't just about moving Earth. It's about precision, scale, and a sophisticated understanding of geology and architecture that seems to defy the known timeline of human development in the Americas. These tunnels, if they truly exist on the scale suggested by legend and tantalizing glimpses, would represent a global infrastructure, hinting at a level of unified civilization that challenges our current historical paradigms. They are not merely passages, they are monuments to a lost world, etched into the very core of the planet, waiting to reveal their secrets. Crossing the Atlantic once more, we arrive in Europe, a continent seemingly thoroughly explored and mapped, yet even here, beneath the pastoral landscapes and ancient towns, lies another layer of mystery: the Erdstelle. These are enigmatic underground tunnel systems found primarily in Bavaria, Germany, and parts of Austria, as well as scattered across other European countries like France, Spain, and even Ireland. Unlike the grand, multi-layered cities of Cappadocia or the rumored vast networks of South America, Erdstelle are generally much smaller, typically single-file passages, often labyrinthine and claustrophobic, with peculiar design features that baffle archaeologists. Most Erdstelle consist of narrow, often serpentine tunnels, just wide enough for a person to crawl through, leading into small oval chambers. A distinctive feature is the Schlupf, a vertical or steeply angled bottleneck connecting two sections of the tunnel, so narrow that one must squeeze through head first or feet first. These passages sometimes twist and turn without apparent logic, suddenly ending in a dead end or looping back on themselves. They rarely show signs of long-term habitation: no hearths, no extensive refuse, no burial sites. This absence of typical archaeological markers is one of their most puzzling characteristics. Estimated to number in the thousands across Europe, with over 700 found in Bavaria alone, these subterranean systems are consistently dated, based on artifacts found within them or at their entrances, to the early to high Middle Ages, roughly between the 9th and 13th centuries AD. But this dating itself presents a problem. While the medieval era was certainly capable of excavation, the purpose and design of the Erdstelle remained deeply debated. Were they storage cellars for food, refuges from invaders, places of spiritual ritual, or perhaps something entirely different? The narrowness of the passages, the difficulty of access, and the absence of clear living spaces make their utility as simple refuges or storage areas highly questionable. One cannot store significant amounts of food in such cramped, humid conditions, nor could large numbers of people hide effectively for extended periods, let alone defend themselves from attack, given the difficulty of maneuvering within. The uniform design elements across widely dispersed regions, particularly the distinct Schlupf feature, suggest a shared knowledge, a common architectural tradition, perhaps even a common purpose that transcends local cultures and political boundaries of the medieval period. How could such a specific, unusual design propagate so widely without a more centralized network of communication or a shared ancient heritage? The craftsmanship, though not on the scale of Derinkuyu, is still remarkable for its time, involving careful excavation through various types of rock and soil, maintaining structural integrity without collapses. Some researchers propose that Erdstelle were used for ritualistic purposes, perhaps as places of initiation or as portals to the underworld in ancient belief systems. The cramped, womb-like passages, the dark, silent chambers, and the sensation of being buried alive could certainly lend themselves to such esoteric interpretations. But if so, what kind of rituals and what kind of beliefs were so widespread and secretive that they required thousands of such hidden underground temples? Were these medieval tunnels merely a recreation or a continued use of an even older prehistoric tradition? The impossible engineering aspect here is less about the sheer scale and more about the precision and consistency of design in conditions of extreme difficulty, using tools often thought to be basic. It's also about the enigma of their purpose. They stand as a silent testament to a hidden layer of European history, a network of subterranean pathways whose true meaning has been lost, deliberately forgotten, or perhaps simply never understood by surface-dwelling historians. They are a haunting reminder that even in familiar landscapes, the ground beneath us holds mysteries that defy easy explanation, pointing to an underlying unifying force or tradition that operated across vast distances and through the depths of time. The Erdstelle are but one thread in a global tapestry of underground enigmas, each challenging our assumptions, each whispering of civilizations that chose or were forced to retreat into the silent embrace of the earth. Let us now journey to the tiny island nation of Malta, an ancient crossroads in the Mediterranean, where another profound subterranean mystery awaits, the Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is not merely a tomb or a simple cave. It is an extraordinary example of rock-cut architecture, an intricate multi-level underground complex carved entirely out of solid limestone using only stone and bone tools, dating back to approximately 4000 to 2500 BC. This predates the Egyptian pyramids by centuries and predates the generally accepted timeline for such sophisticated engineering by millennia. The Hypogeum plunges 3 levels deep, extending for approximately 11 meters below ground. Its labyrinthine passages and chambers mimic the architectural features of surface temples, complete with doorways, windows, and even corbelled ceilings, all meticulously carved from the living rock. The precision is astonishing. Rooms are acoustically designed, with one chamber, known as the Oracle Room, possessing unique resonant properties that amplify low-frequency male voices to an almost deafening degree, a phenomenon suggesting a deliberate acoustic engineering that seems impossible for a Neolithic culture. Another chamber, the Holy of Holies, is a masterpiece of false architecture, replicating the trilithon and post and lintel structures of surface temples, but all carved from a single continuous rock mass. The sheer scale of the excavation, performed without metal tools, is mind-boggling. Imagine chipping away at solid limestone, removing thousands of tons of rock, sculpting perfect curves, smooth walls, and intricate details, all in perpetual darkness, relying on primitive lamps. The effort involved speaks of a highly organized society, a profound dedication, and an understanding of stoneworking that defies the conventional archaeological narrative for the period. Who possessed such skill, such patience, such an advanced architectural vision thousands of years before the advent of sophisticated tools? The purpose of the Hypogeum remains a subject of intense debate. It functioned as a necropolis, holding the remains of an estimated 7,000 to 8,000 individuals, but also clearly served as a temple, a place of ritual and ceremony, evidenced by the unique acoustics and sacred iconography. The stories around the hypogeum become even more mysterious. Some accounts, particularly from the early 20th century, speak of a deeper, unexplored level, a hidden labyrinth that was sealed off after reports of people disappearing within its depths, never to return. While these tales often stray into the realm of urban legend, the very possibility of deeper, unknown chambers within such an already monumental structure adds another layer of intrigue. Was the hypogeum originally built as a gateway, a point of access to an even more extensive subterranean network, perhaps connecting to other islands or even to the rumored tunnels beneath the Mediterranean? The idea is speculative, yet the consistent pattern of deep, enigmatic underground structures across the globe compels us to consider such possibilities. The hypogeum is not just an underground temple or burial site. It is a profound testament to an impossible engineering of prehistoric Europe, a direct challenge to the timeline of human technological development. It suggests that highly advanced, sophisticated civilizations capable of monumental rock-cut architecture existed far earlier than currently accepted. What knowledge did they possess? What was the true purpose of such a colossal undertaking beneath the earth? Was it merely a sacred space for the dead and the living, or did it serve a deeper, more profound function, perhaps connecting its builders to a greater unseen network of power or knowledge that emanated from the very core of the planet? The hypogeum remains a silent, echoing marvel, a subterranean cathedral carved by a people whose wisdom far outstripped the tools they supposedly wielded. Moving across the vast Atlantic to North America, the narrative of subterranean networks continues, albeit often obscured by modern development and marginalized by mainstream historical inquiry. While not possessing the same monumental rock-cut scale of places like Derinkuyu or the hypogeum, accounts from indigenous traditions, early explorers, and even some archaeological anomalies suggest that the North American continent also harbors its share of hidden underground passages and ancient mysteries. These are often linked to indigenous legends of a people of the underworld or vast systems of caves and tunnels used for refuge, ceremony, or even as entrances to other realms. One of the most persistent and intriguing legends involves the Grand Canyon. While the canyon itself is a natural wonder of immense proportions, accounts from the early 20th century, particularly a sensational article published in the Arizona Gazette in 1909, speak of a sophisticated underground city discovered by an explorer named G.E. Kincaid, supposedly sponsored by the Smithsonian Institution. The article describes vast caverns and tunnels, meticulously carved with incredible precision, leading to a sprawling city complete with temples, tombs, and strange hieroglyphs. It speaks of artifacts of copper, stone, and even gold, and a giant mummy wrapped in cloth, all suggesting a non-native, possibly ancient Egyptian or Asian civilization. The Smithsonian Institution has always denied any knowledge of such an expedition or discovery, and the official stance is that the story is a hoax or a journalistic fabrication. However, the persistent nature of the tale, coupled with indigenous Hopi legends of a secret underground world beneath the canyon, gives pause. The Hopi speak of a sipapu, a sacred place of emergence from the underworld, and their mythology is rich with tales of underground dwellings and connections to ancient beings. While concrete archaeological proof of Kincaid's city remains elusive, the difficulty and danger of exploring the Grand Canyon's myriad side canyons and hidden grottos means that vast sections remain uninvestigated. Could a sophisticated prehistoric civilization have sought refuge or established a hidden kingdom within the immense geological structure of the canyon, leaving behind traces that have been deliberately overlooked or suppressed? Furthermore, across the United States, particularly in the Midwest and Southeast, reports from early settlers and indigenous groups speak of man-made caves, unusual tunnel entrances, and ancient mines that seem to predate known historical mining activities. The existence of thousands of earthworks and mounds across the Mississippi Valley, built by the mound builders, points to a sophisticated and organized culture with deep connections to the land. While most of these are surface structures, some legends connect them to underground passages and hidden chambers. Were these early American civilizations also engaged in subterranean construction, perhaps for purposes similar to those in Europe or Asia? The often unexplained precision of some of these ancient mines, far exceeding what would be expected from pre-Columbian peoples, prompts further questioning. The impossible engineering in North America often manifests not as colossal cities, but as subtle anomalies, perfectly cut tunnels that don't fit the established timeline, legends of vast subterranean networks that defy conventional archaeology, and artifacts found in contexts that challenge accepted historical narratives. It asks us to consider whether the official story of North America's past is incomplete, perhaps deliberately so, with a hidden layer of history lying beneath the surface waiting to be rediscovered. These scattered clues, these persistent whispers, suggest that the desire or necessity to go underground was not limited to a few isolated cultures, but was a widespread phenomenon, a forgotten chapter in the global human story. The questions linger. From whom or what were they hiding? What knowledge did they seek to preserve? And what secrets still lie buried, echoing the silent footsteps of those who walked the subterranean paths of ancient North America? These fragmented accounts and inexplicable structures, stretching from the Anatolian plains to the South American jungles, from the heart of Europe to the canyons of North America, begin to coalesce into a single, compelling narrative. We are not talking about isolated instances of cave dwelling or simple mining operations. We are talking about engineered structures, built with a precision and on a scale that defies the known technological capabilities of the civilizations to which they are attributed. We are talking about networks, sometimes explicitly stated, sometimes implied by shared architectural features that suggest a coordinated effort, a global understanding of subterranean construction, or perhaps a shared fear, a common necessity that drove humanity, or a predecessor civilization deep into the earth. The recurring themes are striking. Ventilation systems that function flawlessly for millennia, massive stone doors designed for impenetrable defense, acoustically engineered chambers, perfectly smooth walls and tunnels, and the sheer volume of rock removal accomplished without modern tools. These are not coincidences. These are signatures. Signatures of a lost technology, a forgotten science, or perhaps the lingering presence of a civilization far more advanced than any we acknowledge in our history books. A civilization that saw the Earth not just as a surface to build upon, but as a three-dimensional canvas, a protective shell within which to build, to thrive, and perhaps to hide. The persistent legends of giants, of powerful beings, of catastrophic floods and destructive wars that forced survivors underground, echo across every culture touched by these subterranean enigmas. Are these mere myths, colorful tales to entertain and instruct? Or are they distorted memories of actual events, of a time when the world above was no longer safe, when the only hope for survival lay in retreating into the silent, dark embrace of the earth? The sheer scale of these tunnels, some stretching for hundreds, even thousands of miles according to local folklore and anecdotal evidence, hints at a global infrastructure, a unified plan. This was not the work of disparate, isolated tribes. This speaks of a coordinated planetary effort. Consider the energy required for such endeavors, not just physical labor, but the energy to cut, move, and shape massive amounts of rock. What power source did they utilize? What light source illuminated these deep, sunless realms? The absence of soot on the walls of many ancient tunnels and chambers is a perplexing detail. If ancient peoples used open flames or oil lamps, why is there no residual evidence of soot, especially in chambers that show signs of long-term habitation or ritual use? Could they have possessed a form of illumination unknown to us, a light source that produced no heat or smoke, a technology far beyond our current understanding of ancient capabilities? And what of the materials themselves? The precise cutting of granite and other hard stones in Egypt, the smooth finish of the tunnels in Teos Cave, the meticulous carving of limestone in the hypogeum, these are not the hallmarks of primitive tools. They suggest sophisticated cutting techniques, perhaps even methods of softening stone or using ultrasonic vibrations to carve with ease. These are speculative ideas, certainly, but they are born out of the profound dissonance between the archaeological evidence and the conventional historical narrative. The official stories, while providing a framework, often leave too many unanswered questions, too many anomalies that refuse to fit neatly into accepted timelines. We are left with a tantalizing, unsettling proposition that beneath the thin veneer of our known history, beneath the cities we have built and the civilizations we have recorded, lies another far older history. A history of subterranean empires, of peoples who engineered a world beneath our world, creating networks of tunnels that span continents, defying natural boundaries and the limitations of their supposed technology. These tunnels are not merely archaeological curiosities, they are silent witnesses to a lost era, a forgotten epoch when humanity, or perhaps a precursor race, possessed capabilities that challenge our very definition of ancient. The journey through these underground realms is not just a physical one, it is a journey through time, a descent into the very foundations of our planet, where the echoes of lost civilizations resonate in the meticulously carved rock. The questions multiply with every discovered passage, every inexplicable chamber. Who were these builders? What catastrophic events forced them into the earth? What secrets did they seek to preserve? And perhaps most profoundly, what other marvels, what other hidden histories still lie sealed beneath our world, waiting for us to awaken to the extraordinary truth that lies just beneath our feet? The earth itself holds the archives of a history far grander, far more mysterious than we have ever dared to imagine. Consider the enigmatic Longyu grottos in Zhejiang province, China. These are not mere caves, but a monumental series of 36 artificial grottos carved into solid siltstone over an area of 30,000 square meters. Discovered only in 1992 after local villagers drained a pond, their existence presents a profound archaeological puzzle. Each grotto plunges to an average depth of 30 meters, with vast column-supported chambers, perfectly smooth walls, and intricate patterns of chisel marks covering every surface. The precision of these markings, appearing as parallel lines, suggests a uniform method of excavation, applied with staggering consistency across the entire complex. What truly bewilders scholars is the sheer scale of the undertaking. Estimates suggest that over 1 million cubic meters of rock were removed, a task that would have required an immense labor force working for an unknown duration. Yet, there is no historical record whatsoever of their construction, no mention in ancient texts, no tools found within, no debris from the excavation, and no clear purpose defined. The chambers feature remarkably consistent dimensions, perfectly straight walls, and ceilings supported by massive mushroom-shaped pillars. The internal geometry, the strategic placement of these columns, and the flawless drainage system that has kept them free of significant water accumulation for perhaps millennia, all point to an advanced understanding of engineering, hydrology, and structural integrity. Were these quarries, as some official explanations suggest? If so, for what purpose was such an enormous volume of stone removed, and where did it go? The grottos show no signs of external building activity that would account for such a massive extraction. Or were they something more? A vast subterranean temple complex, perhaps, or a secret military outpost, or even a refuge from an unknown cataclysm. The perfectly aligned equidistant chisel marks, like fingerprints of an ancient technology, seem too precise for simple hand tools. Could an advanced form of vibration cutting or a yet-to-be-understood method of rock liquefaction have been employed? The unanswered questions at Longyu echo the mysteries found across other continents, hinting at a shared knowledge base among disparate ancient cultures, or perhaps a singular global predecessor. The silence of history regarding such a monumental achievement is deafening, suggesting either a deliberate suppression or a forgotten epoch. Moving westward, into the heart of Anatolia, Turkey, we encounter another astonishing testament to subterranean engineering: the underground cities of Cappadocia, most notably Derinkuyu and Kemakli. These are not isolated chambers, but vast multi-level complexes carved deep into the volcanic rock, capable of housing thousands of people along with their livestock and food supplies for extended periods. Derinkuyu alone plunges an estimated 18 stories deep, though its full extent remains unexcavated, reaching depths of over 85 meters. It contains chapels, schools, communal kitchens, wineries, stables, and intricate ventilation shafts that provide fresh air to its deepest levels. The engineering prowess demonstrated in these cities is nothing short of miraculous. Miles of tunnels connect various chambers, some so narrow that only one person can pass at a time, while others open into vast assembly halls. Enormous circular stone doors, weighing hundreds of kilograms, could be rolled into place from the inside, effectively sealing off sections from intruders. The ventilation system, however, remains the most perplexing aspect. A central shaft, extending vertically for meters, draws air from the surface, distributing it efficiently through a network of smaller channels to every level of the city. How the ancient builders designed and executed such a complex, self-sustaining air circulation system without modern understanding of aerodynamics is a profound mystery. Official history attributes these constructions primarily to early Christians seeking refuge from Roman persecution or Arab raids, dating them from the 7th to the 10th centuries AD. But could such an undertaking, requiring immense time, resources, and sophisticated planning, have been initiated by scattered, persecuted communities? Furthermore, archaeological evidence suggests parts of Derinkuyu predate the Christian era by centuries, possibly millennia, with earlier levels exhibiting different construction styles. Legends whisper of connections between these vast subterranean cities, not just localized links, but an extensive network spanning across Cappadocia, perhaps even beyond. Were these immense underground complexes merely temporary shelters, or were they components of a much larger, coordinated system designed to house entire populations during a prolonged period of crisis? The sheer scale and meticulous planning suggest a civilization with a deep understanding of urban planning and survival strategies under extraordinary duress. The questions persist. What grand threat necessitated such colossal, deeply buried refugees? And who truly possessed the initial vision and the technological means to carve these cities into the very heart of the earth? The official narrative offers only a partial explanation, leaving the deeper origins and true purpose veiled in the dust of ages. The idea of vast interconnected subterranean networks extends far beyond isolated examples. Across Eastern Europe and into the sprawling landmass of Russia, legends persist of ancient underground passages and hidden realms. In the Ural Mountains, stories are told of tunnels so ancient their origins are lost to time, leading to vast caverns and even entire cities beneath the earth. These aren't just local folktales. Occasional reports surface of explorers stumbling upon perfectly carved shafts or unusual rock formations deep within mining operations, only for these discoveries to be quickly dismissed or sealed off. The sheer geological complexity of regions like the Urals, with their rich mineral deposits, has led to millennia of human interaction with the underground. Yet the deepest, most unusual findings often remain shrouded in secrecy. Consider the persistent whispers of a legendary underground world known as Agartha, or Shambhala, particularly prevalent in Tibetan and Buddhist traditions, but with echoes in various Eurasian mythologies. These are often described as spiritual realms, paradises hidden beneath the Earth's surface, accessible through secret entrances or vast tunnel systems. While these are often seen as purely metaphorical or spiritual, what if they are rooted in a forgotten reality? What if these myths are the faded memories of actual subterranean civilizations, or at least highly advanced precursor societies that sought refuge or maintained a presence deep within the planet? The scale of these legends, often speaking of entire networks connecting different continents, resonates eerily with the physical evidence of engineering found in places like Ecuador, Malta, and China. The challenging topography of Siberia, with its permafrost and vast unexplored territories, also holds secrets. Reports from the Soviet era, though largely unconfirmed or dismissed, occasionally hinted at vast underground structures discovered during extensive geological surveys and drilling operations. The sheer difficulty of exploration in such harsh environments means that much of its deep past remains unexamined, where some of the inexplicable circular formations and massive sinkholes, often attributed to natural gas explosions, perhaps remnants of ancient buried structures collapsing. The official explanations often serve to close the door on deeper inquiry rather than encourage it. Yet, the question lingers. If vast engineered spaces exist in other parts of the world, why not in these equally ancient and geologically active regions, which have seen their own share of cataclysmic events throughout deep time? The idea that our recorded history is but a fragment, a thin layer over a much older, more complex narrative, becomes increasingly compelling when we turn to the Americas. While the Maya, Aztec, and Inca civilizations left magnificent surface ruins, indigenous legends across North, Central, and South America are replete with tales of subterranean worlds, of ancestors who emerged from the earth, or of mysterious beings who dwell within its depths. The Hopi, for instance, speak of a series of underworlds and of a great flood that forced their ancestors to seek refuge underground before emerging into the present world. Similar narratives exist among numerous tribes, suggesting a collective memory of profound subterranean experiences. One of the most controversial, yet persistent, stories of a North American subterranean discovery revolves around an alleged expedition into the Grand Canyon. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article detailing the discovery of a vast underground city by an explorer named G.E. Kincaid, supposedly funded by the Smithsonian Institution. The article described enormous caverns, corridors filled with ancient artifacts, mummified bodies of a non-native race, and hieroglyphs bearing an Egyptian or Oriental resemblance. The Smithsonian officially denies any knowledge of Kincaid or the expedition, and the site has never been publicly located or authenticated, leading many to dismiss it as a journalistic hoax. However, the tantalizing specificity of the report, coupled with the Smithsonian's historical tendency to control or even suppress certain archaeological findings that challenge established paradigms, fuels persistent speculation. What if such a discovery did occur and was intentionally obscured because it contradicted the prevailing historical narrative of indigenous isolation and technological development? Even without relying on such disputed claims, the sheer scale of natural cave systems in North America, some extending for hundreds of miles, begs the question of how much remains unexplored and what artificial elements might lie hidden within. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, for example, is the longest known cave system in the world. While largely natural, the question arises, were certain parts of these vast natural networks perhaps enhanced, modified, or even connected by ancient hands, using their natural formations as a template for larger engineered complexes? The discovery of pre-Columbian artifacts deep within certain caves suggests a long history of human interaction, but the possibility of much older, more technologically advanced interventions remains largely unconsidered by mainstream archaeology. The challenge lies in discerning between the purely natural and the subtly artificial, especially when dealing with timelines that predate conventional understanding of human technological capabilities. The recurring theme across all these disparate locations is not merely the existence of tunnels, but the impossible engineering required to create them. How were these colossal excavations achieved? The conventional explanation often points to copper chisels, stone hammers, and immense brute force. But this explanation quickly crumbles when faced with the evidence. The precision of the cuts, the sheer volume of rock removed, the uniform smoothness of the walls, and the complex internal geometries found in places like Longyu, the Hypogeum, or even the initial tunnels of Tayo's cave, far exceed what could be realistically accomplished with known ancient tools. Consider the hardness of the rock itself. Basalt, granite, and dense limestone are incredibly difficult to work even with modern machinery. To achieve perfectly straight cuts over vast distances, to bore perfectly circular shafts, and to polish surfaces to a mirror-like sheen would require technologies unknown to the supposed builders of these structures. The idea of millions of hours of labor with rudimentary tools simply does not account for the sheer perfection and scale. Were the builders employing a form of sound technology using specific frequencies to disintegrate rock? Ancient myths from various cultures speak of the power of sound or chanting to move mountains or shape stone. Is this merely metaphor or a veiled reference to a lost technology, a form of sonic levitation or vibration-based cutting? Another intriguing possibility involves a form of localized thermal energy or plasma technology. The vitrified walls found in some ancient sites, where stone has been melted and fused, hint at intense, focused heat that cannot be explained by conventional fires. Could a similar method, perhaps in a controlled, directed form, have been used to soften or even vaporize rock for excavation? The clean, almost surgical cuts seen in some ancient megalithic sites, often paralleled by features in these subterranean complexes, suggest a level of precision that modern laser technology might achieve, but certainly not Bronze Age chisels. The absence of tool marks, or the presence of highly uniform, unidentifiable marks, challenges our entire understanding of ancient engineering. Furthermore, the scale of debris removal from these massive excavations is a profound enigma. Where did the millions of tons of rock and soil go from the Longyu grottos, or from the extensive tunnel systems beneath the Giza Plateau? There are no massive spoil heaps in the vicinity, no obvious disposal sites that correspond to the volume of material removed. This suggests either a technology that disintegrated the rock into dust that could be carried away by wind, or a method of reusing the material in ways we do not comprehend, or even a technology that allowed for the dematerialization of the rock itself. Such concepts verge on the fantastical, yet they are forced upon us by the glaring absence of archaeological evidence that should logically accompany such monumental construction projects. The sophisticated understanding of geology, hydrology, and structural engineering displayed in these subterranean networks also points to a civilization far more advanced than conventionally accepted. The precise angles of the tunnels, the strategic placement of support pillars, the intricate ventilation and drainage systems all suggest an advanced knowledge base in physics and engineering. How did they survey these vast underground spaces without light sources that would leave soot, or without complex mapping tools? Did they possess a form of geo-radar or ground-penetrating technology to see through the earth before they began carving? The planning alone for such colossal interconnected networks would require a level of foresight and technological capability that pushes the boundaries of our accepted history. This leads us to the most fundamental questions. Who were these builders? And why did they undertake such an extraordinary effort to engineer a world beneath our world? The official narrative of scattered, isolated cultures developing independently and coincidentally creating similar, impossible structures strains credulity. The widespread presence of these anomalous subterranean complexes, often exhibiting similar characteristics despite vast geographical separation, strongly suggests a common origin, or at least a shared technological lineage. Were they a single unified global civilization, wiped from the surface by some forgotten cataclysm, their remnants fleeing underground? Or were they multiple advanced cultures, perhaps survivors of an even older global empire, each preserving fragments of a shared ancient knowledge? The idea of precursor races emerges as a potent, if speculative, explanation. Perhaps humanity as we know it is not the first intelligent civilization to walk this earth. Perhaps an earlier, highly advanced species, either human or non-human, existed, developed incredible technologies, and then faced a devastating global event. Such an event, whether a cosmic impact, an extreme ice age, a pole shift, or a solar flare of catastrophic proportions, could have rendered the surface uninhabitable for extended periods, forcing survivors into the most secure environments available. deep beneath the earth. The very act of carving these immense underground shelters, complete with intricate life support systems, speaks to a desperate, coordinated effort to preserve life, knowledge, and culture against an overwhelming external threat. The precise nature of this cataclysm remains a subject of intense debate and speculation. Many ancient myths speak of great floods, of fire from the sky, of ages of darkness or ice. Are these merely imaginative tales, or are they collective memories encoded in oral traditions of global catastrophes that profoundly shaped early human history and forced a shift towards subterranean existence? The timelines often associated with these legends, pushing back into tens of thousands of years ago, align with periods of immense geological upheaval, such as the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 to 10,000 years ago, a period marked by rapid climate change, widespread megafaunal extinctions, and rising sea levels. If an advanced civilization faced such an existential threat, the preservation of knowledge would become paramount. These tunnels and underground cities could have served as vast archives, safeguarding not just lives, but also scientific understanding, historical records, and technological blueprints, all stored away from the destructive forces on the surface. They might represent humanity's oldest libraries, laboratories, and centers of learning, designed to ensure the survival of essential information for future generations, who would eventually re-emerge into a transformed world. The discovery of the Library of Clay tablets in Tao's cave, if confirmed, would lend immense credence to this idea, suggesting a deliberate effort to preserve vast amounts of information. The lingering question, then, is not merely if these structures exist, but what else they might contain. What other technologies, what other forms of knowledge, what other histories lie sealed within the earth, waiting to be rediscovered? The official scientific and historical communities, often constrained by existing paradigms and a reluctance to embrace truly radical revisions of human history, largely ignore or dismiss these anomalies. Yet, the evidence continues to accumulate, whispering from the depths, challenging the very foundations of our understanding. To truly grasp the implications of these subterranean marvels is to embark on a journey of intellectual courage. It demands that we confront the possibility that everything we thought we knew about our past, about the origins of civilization, about human capabilities, might be incomplete or fundamentally flawed. It asks us to consider that the very ground beneath our feet is not merely inert rock, but a silent, vast archive, holding the memories of a time when humanity, or perhaps those who came before us, looked not to the stars for refuge, but descended into the heart of the earth, carving out a secret history that continues to defy our modern comprehension. The echoes of these lost civilizations resonate in the meticulously carved rock, an invitation to awaken to the extraordinary truth that lies just beneath our feet, a truth far grander, far more mysterious than we have ever dared to imagine. Yet, the whispers of these depths are not confined to isolated anomalies, but echo across continents, revealing patterns that suggest a deliberate, coordinated effort, a global design for a forgotten age. Consider, for instance, the labyrinthine depths beneath the Anatolian plains of Turkey, specifically in the region of Cappadocia. Here, carved into the soft volcanic tuff, lies a marvel of subterranean architecture known as Derinkuyu. Discovered relatively recently, fully opening to the world only in 1963, this underground city plunges more than 200 feet into the earth, a sprawling, multi-layered metropolis capable of housing tens of thousands of people, along with their livestock, for extended periods. Derinkuyu is not merely a collection of simple caves. It is an intricate, sophisticated network of living quarters, stables, churches, storage rooms, wineries, and most astonishingly, meticulously engineered ventilation shafts and deep wells that provided fresh air and water to its deepest levels. Imagine the sheer scale of the excavation, the organized labor, and the advanced planning required to create such a self-sufficient ecosystem beneath the ground. Its multiple levels are interconnected by narrow, sloping passages, often blocked by massive circular stone doors weighing hundreds of pounds that could be rolled into place from the inside, sealing off sections from external threat. Official history attributes the primary construction and expansion of Derinkuyu to the Phrygians in the 8th to 7th centuries BC, later expanded by Byzantine Christians seeking refuge from Arab raids in the 7th to 10th centuries AD. But does this explanation truly account for the unparalleled engineering prowess displayed? The ventilation system alone is a testament to an extraordinary understanding of airflow and pressure dynamics far beyond what is typically credited to cultures of that era. How were these perfectly aligned shafts, some stretching hundreds of feet to the surface, excavated with such precision without the use of modern surveying equipment? And what of the immense volumes of earth and rock removed? Where did it all go, leaving no vast spoil heaps? The sheer enormity of the task challenges our understanding of ancient technological capabilities. Were these underground cities merely refugees from surface conflict? While defensive capabilities are undeniable, the effort involved seems disproportionate to the typical threats of invading armies. To construct such a massive self-sustaining world beneath the earth suggests a more profound existential threat, or perhaps a different purpose entirely. Could these tunnels and chambers be far older than conventionally accepted, their origins stretching back to a time when cataclysmic events reshaped the very face of the planet? Could Derinkuyu and its numerous sister cities across Cappadocia represent a survival strategy from a forgotten global catastrophe, a wisdom passed down, or a direct legacy of a pre-cataclysmic civilization? The design elements, the strategic placement of access points, the sophisticated infrastructure for air and water. All these speak not of hurried, desperate digging, but of careful, deliberate planning and execution by a highly organized, knowledgeable society. The very concept of living entirely underground, isolated from the surface for potentially years, reshapes our understanding of ancient human resilience and adaptability. But it also begs the question, what kind of advanced knowledge allowed for such undertakings? What understanding of geology, engineering, and perhaps even geothermal energy was brought to bear on these monumental projects? The rock itself, a relatively soft volcanic tuff, made excavation feasible, yet the sheer scale and structural integrity achieved, maintaining multi-level stability for millennia, still defies simple explanation. The official narrative struggles to reconcile the observable facts with the accepted timeline of human development. We are told these were primarily defensive shelters, yet the scale and complexity suggest far more than temporary refuge. They imply a societal structure capable of mobilizing vast resources for generations, dedicating itself to an underworld existence. Was this born purely of necessity, or was there an underlying belief system, a spiritual connection to the Earth's interior that drove such profound architectural expressions? The very act of descending into the Earth, creating a world shielded from the sun, resonates with ancient myths of underworld journeys, of creation and destruction linked to the planet's core. These subterranean realms, like Derinkuyu, offer a tangible, undeniable challenge to the fragmented picture of ancient history we typically accept. They are not isolated anomalies, but part of a global tapestry of underground wonders, each presenting a similar suite of impossible questions. How were they built? By whom? And most importantly, why? The consistency of certain design principles, the shared engineering challenges overcome, and the sheer ambition behind these projects across disparate cultures and geographies suggest a common origin of knowledge, a shared understanding of deep earth construction that transcends individual civilizations. It forces us to consider the possibility of a global precursor, an antecedent civilization whose reach extended far beyond our current historical lens. The ground beneath our feet, therefore, is not merely a repository of forgotten artifacts, but a living testament to a history far more dynamic and complex than we have ever acknowledged. It speaks of ancient peoples, or perhaps beings, who mastered the art of carving worlds from solid stone, who understood the Earth's core not as a barrier, but as a sanctuary. Their silent monuments, buried deep, continue to pose the most profound questions to our modern intellect, inviting us to look beyond the surface, to reevaluate every assumption, and to prepare for a revelation of a past that is not only richer, but infinitely more mysterious than any story we have dared to tell ourselves. This subterranean narrative challenges the very timeline of human development, suggesting advanced capabilities at epochs we currently label as primitive. It forces us to confront the possibility that entire chapters of our shared story have been deliberately obscured, or perhaps simply forgotten, swallowed by the Earth itself. What hidden knowledge did these engineers possess, and what cataclysmic events drove them to seek refuge in the planet's enduring depths?